Hello, it's Oren Prunken, and today I want to talk to you about a man that you've come across but you do not know what his name is. So this gentleman went out and created the very first internet browser, Netscape. He then went on to found a venture capital fund called Andreessen Horowitz, and his name is Marc Andreessen, and he's one of the founders of that VC firm, but also created one of the very first internet browsers. Now, he wrote a very interesting article called Software is Eating the World. Now, you can find that on the internet. You just type it in. I think it's on the Wall Street Journal from memory. And the premise of his article was that the offline world, the physical world, is going online and digital, and that software, in other words, digital, is taking over and replacing all of its counterparts that are physical in the offline world. And he gives a whole range of different examples of how that is happening. Now, I want to talk about the television. So television is obviously in the offline world and the physical world. And the television is still in most houses. Every house usually has a television, if not many more. Now, I don't actually have a television, and the reason I have a television is I'm not a huge content consumer. I do create and produce a lot of content, but I just don't consume it. So I'm making a value judgment about me not having a television. I'm actually one of the odd ones out because I rely on a lot of people consuming my content. So I think there is definitely a place for that. Now, televisions, they're a way of distributing content or a message, right? Every house has one huge distribution network. Now, every television has channels, and it has multiple channels, and each of those channels have shows and multiple shows, and each of those shows are usually differentiated from other ones, obviously, and same with each television channel by the genre of the channel, but also genre of the show. And each of those shows have episodes, and episodes are single or multiple. Now, when we take that analogy of software is eating the world, it's actually quite obvious to us that telephones, mobile phones specifically, the smartphone, are taking over from televisions everywhere you look. I'm literally on the road now, and I'm just passing a tram stop, and there's people just staring at their phone. There's a guy just here walking past across the sidewalk on the way to probably lunch, and he's just staring at his phone. Everyone is on their phone. Now, phone is the new distribution mechanism that television once was. And phones, they have the equivalent of television channels, and they are mobile apps. And each of those mobile apps, and particularly the big platforms like the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the LinkedIns, the YouTubes, all of those apps or those channels, TV channels, have individual shows on them. They're not produced by the television channels or networks. They're produced by people like you and I, and then each one of those shows then has an episode or multiple episodes, and you're obviously listening to a show that I've produced, and this is a different episode of the show that I produced, and I am distributing it via the channel of YouTube, and we'll be doing it on podcasts, and there's transcripts of it that I'll be putting on my blog, and all of these different things, blogs, podcasts, YouTube, they're all different apps or channels on the distribution of the telephone. So by analogy, the telephone is, the smartphone, the telephone, is the new distribution network. Now, different people use each of these apps differently, of course, just like different shows. They go to different TV channels. They go to different channels and different apps for different purposes. Someone that is scrolling through, TikTok, for example, is on there for a very different reason than someone is on LinkedIn. TikTok is usually just to scroll and waste time and be entertained, whereas LinkedIn, I think, is about self-promotion, and I've done an episode on that previously. But people use those different channels for different things and different purposes, and because they're using it for different purposes, each one of those need different content. Obviously, well, is that? I'm not sure if that's super obvious, but each of those platforms need different content. Now, we have apps and platforms that cater towards stories, and they call them stories. You know, you've got Instagram, you've got Snapchat, you've got Facebook, and I'm including Twitter here, where you're just posting a lot of small, short content. And you know, the type of content, or the category that is most like television with that, is actually like a reality TV show. I see people on Twitter, for example, that have post counts of 50,000. I'm like, what are you guys posting about? But literally they're posting their day-to-day, minute by minute habits of what's going on in their life. Reality TV. You scroll through Instagram stories, it's the same thing. Then we move on to, you know, feeds, and the more timely feeds that pop up in terms of time specific things. And so, you know, your Facebook feeds and LinkedIn feeds and those types of things get lost. And the analogy in the TV world is, you know, a news program that's, you know, timely in terms of what is happening. The other type of feeds, you know, kind of like your podcasts and things that are more evergreen, your YouTube channels. These things that are, you know, like your documentaries where they demonstrate expertise, or they tell stories, or they give analyses of what is going on. It's still timely, but, you know, they're a little bit more evergreen, but they're still, in terms of feeding it, timed a post and time stamped at a particular time. And then you move into things like email and SMS and post, and these are more around announcements of things. You know, in the offline world, you use post to send invites to things, and, you know, the digital world, the equivalent is an email. You want to be sending announcements in terms of your content with emails, and not necessarily going to be something you're going to be writing out a really long analysis or story type content. People just don't have the time to read it. So where I'm going with this is, each one of these platforms caters to different types or genres of content, but each of those types and genres should really be matching up with your customer journey of what temperature they're currently coming into your world at, whether it's, you know, frozen, cold, you know, warm, hot, and boiling. And you should be really catering that type of content to, if they are unaware of a problem, unaware of your brand, they're problem aware of your brand, they're solution aware, they're product aware, and then obviously being a customer most aware. They're all going to have different types of content that you're going to be delivering to them. It may be, as I said, demonstrating expertise. It may be just telling your story, which is very different and comes at a very different awareness level for a prospect than demonstrating expertise. And as also like how your product is created, for example, is a definitely different type of content for a different temperature that a prospect is at. And then the other thing is, you know, you may be producing a video content like this is, but you can actually translate that content into a different form. For example, I can pull the audio out of this and create a podcast. I can get that audio transcribed and create a blog post, not just the actual transcription, but I can transcribe it into text, but also edit it down to be more readable in a text format. I can then take smaller versions of that text, audio or video, and create sound bites and GIFs, and I can create mind maps and slides and all these other different modalities from that one bit of content. So you can create multiple different contents from the same theme. Those themes then should really be matched to the awareness level that your prospecting customers have, but also should be in alignment with why they are going to a certain channel or app or platform in the first place, and what type of thing they are looking for there, what type of content they're looking for there. So hopefully that gives you some ideas of how you can go and create a lot of different content, and also really quickly and quite cheaply, because of the fact that software is in the world, and an essay that was produced by Mark Andreessen. So hopefully this gives you some insight, and I really want, like I always say, you to go out and try this out and see how easy it is for you to go create content. I'd love you to let me know how you go with it and what you find easy and hard and so on, and let me know what the results for you were. And until we talk next time, I hope you got a ton of value from this, and we'll talk soon. Goodbye. Thanks for listening, and if you like what was on here and want more, please go to orenprunken.com.